In this video, I wanted to talk you through a patient case of someone who had depression that was so bad they were quite literally this close to jumping off a bridge. But with the help of lots of support, guidance, and using the drug Sertraline, which some of you may know as Zoloft, they were able to turn their lives around. Hi, I'm Dr. Varun, and if you haven't already done so, please don't forget to subscribe to hear anything to do with mental health or positive well-being. And with that in mind, let's crack on with the story. Now, the story begins with a young patient that I hadn't really met before in the past. And as they entered the room and they took a seat in the chair, they pretty much burst into tears straight away. Now, what I do remember about this is that they were really apologetic, and they said they felt really bad for crying in front of me. And it is really amazing how many people actually do apologize for this when there really isn't any need to. So in this case, it transpired that they'd been always an outgoing person. They were always very happy with how things were. Their life was pretty content. But over the last 6 months, things seemed to be going downhill. And it was all caused by a breakup with their long-term partner, which I'm sure loads of you watching can relate to. And it caused them to change from being quite confident and quite outgoing to actually being quite withdrawn and not even contacting their friends anymore, not sleeping so well, not doing as well at work. Things basically, the whole of their life was completely changing on the back of this one event. Obviously, when we're all low and struggling with things, we all try and find our own coping strategies, our own ways to try and get through the hard times. And in this case, this person started to drink more. That was their coping strategy. However, alcohol, as we all know, is actually a depressant. It makes us feel much worse, so it's never really going to work in that way. And what actually happened in this particular case is that the alcohol on a particular night led this person to go and walk towards a bridge with the thought of trying to actually jump off there and kill themselves. Now, what I remember about this was the way they were describing the turmoil that was going through their minds about the things that were trying to drive them to jump off the bridge, the way things had gone over the last 6 months, the fact that they just couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, versus the things that they were keeping them there, the fans, the family, that they knew was the rational thing to try and stop them from jumping, but there was always another pull to try and get them over the bridge. What happened next was that they obviously made the right decision not to jump, and because they were so tearful and remorseful about the fact that they even contemplated jumping off the bridge, that prompted them to come and see me the next day to try and get some help. So after having a chat with them about what they wanted, we decided that things like counselling was obviously a good option for them, but they wanted to go down the route of having some medication, which I thought was pretty reasonable. So the medication we went for was a drug called Sertraline or Zoloft, which is a part of a group of drugs called SSRIs, which are the first-line medication that we would use as antidepressants in the UK. Now, over the next few weeks, I started to monitor this patient regularly, and although they were quite skeptical about whether the drug would actually work, they did start to improve. And we knew this because they were telling me that they were starting to cry less. People were starting to notice, their close friends and family were noticing that they were A, interacting a little bit more, and B, that when they saw them, they seemed a little bit brighter, they seemed a bit more interested in things and a little bit more motivated. Now, as time progressed, we had to tinker with the dose a little to get there, but they got progressively better, and they got to a point where they actually could not believe the turnaround that had happened from being on the edge of that bridge to then being in a place where things seemed to be almost back to normal. Now, what was the point of me telling this story? Well, it's because it's a success story. When it comes down to it, this was a person who was inches from jumping off a bridge, but they were able to turn things around with the help of coming to get some help and with the help of medication in the form of sertraline. Now, it doesn't mean to say that everyone watching this needs to take a medication, but it is just there to show the power of medication if it's used in the right way, in the right circumstances. Now, if you could relate to that story in any way, or you want to hear any stories similar to that, please let me know by hitting the like button down below. Obviously, leave me your comments also about your experiences with sertraline. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon for the next video.